love it when a plan comes together. You have no idea. This is what I live for. Parents like Mary and Leanne who take the bull by the horns and they're like, I'm in, I'm all in, I'm leaning in, I'm all in because I can't take it. And this is actually becoming fun. It is. For me, it's a lot of fun. I love it. I know, huh? It's cool, huh? But so you got to remember, guys, whenever, I don't care if you ask for it, and always back up your requests. So if you're at a team meeting, right, and you're sitting there and you say, I want the Wilson, I'm requesting based on all of the evidence or based on this evaluation that I had done, I want the Wilson Reading Book program. And they say no. You say, good, put that in writing. They're going to say, what? Yeah, so you're going to answer all of these questions, right? I need all of these questions done. And then you say, pursuant to 34 CFR 300.106. Pursuant to 300.503. Prior written notice. The content of. What you could do is, if you contact me, I'm actually going to put that in my links. When I go, knowledge is power. Girl, you tell me. I'm telling you, catching them, you can. You guys don't understand. You can catch them in stuff that will blow their minds only because you're the only parent doing this. Believe me, you guys. You guys are the only ones in your respective school districts that are actually doing stuff against the school. They don't like none of that. They don't like it. And they don't know what to do with it either because they've never had anybody challenge them in this way. They don't like it. They don't want to be challenged. And then they get a little nippy. And then you check them at the door and you let them know, oh. What do you, if you don't want me talking to you in that tone, then don't talk to me in that tone because we can all go there real quick. Is that what you want? Because I ain't done. When I get done with you guys this summer, you're going to have complaint forms that are fill-in forms. For just a typical one, it's going to have everything, or as much as I can remember. Then you're going to have separate ones. So you're going to have one for, like I did with ESY. You're going to have one for ESY. That, with the exception, that was 11 pages. But the reason why it was so big is because I put in a couple of other pages and other information. So there was like 3 pages of just like the evidence page and evidence page, the introduction page. It was another page that was in there. So there was 3 of those pages, but all the rest of them were all check boxes. You just run right through it, check it all off. Whatever applies, read what I wrote, whatever applies, check it off. Then the state has to do it. Now, the other thing about that is this. When you guys get the book, now I don't know if you can download, my sister said you can download these books, but I don't know if you can download them and check the boxes off. Now, PDF has a way where you can do that. So if you have a problem, let me know. Because then I got to put that in the instructions for the download. But anyway, and I can show you how to separate it. But anyway, what you need to do is, when I get done with you guys, there's going to be a complaint form. Okay, so there's one for ESY. There's a typical one. Okay, I need this book. Go get it, girl. It's out there. Okay. It's on Kindle. It's on Kindle. Amazon Kindle, and I think if you just look up my name, it'll come up. But it's state complaint something. Can I buy it? It is a PDF. It's on Kindle Books. It turns into a PDF. It's $4.99. You buy it and it goes right in your book. But the ESY book it's going to be one of my favorites, only because I think it's because we're at the end of the school year and everybody's losing their minds about this issue. And so if you guys do what I tell, fill that form out the way I told you to. Now, when those idiots from the state call you guys and they want to discuss your complaint, you have it in front of you. And they're going to try to say something and you say, no. I want you to do that. I want you to investigate every single one because in the front of the book, I talk about 34 CFR 300.151 through 153. One of the regulations states specifically that the state has to investigate all allegations, everything that you allege. Okay. And what they try to do is they try to contact you and say what they're going to do is minimize what you did. You tell them, Absolutely not. And if you need to, you can take all of that stuff and add a law or two. Is that what they want? You want me to put a law on there? Or what part don't you understand? Because those are all violations, and you know. I cited everything I needed to cite. Now it's your job and whatever they don't do, you tell them on the phone when they call you. You tell them that whatever you don't investigate, I'm going to refile, and then I'm going to file against the state for deliberately not investigating. Do you understand what I'm going to do to you? It's all broken down in sections, so you shouldn't have a problem. The evidence is there. I stated the claim. I told you what they did. I told you the nature of the problem. I don't understand what your problem is, other than you don't want to file against this. You don't want to find anything against the school district. And that's why you're trying to minimize my shit. So the answer is no. So when they call you guys on any complaint you have, you make sure you have a copy. Oh, and if you don't, you tell them, I'm busy right now. Can we schedule a meeting for you to contact me? And they'll tell you yes. And then you schedule the meeting and you make sure you have your paperwork in front of you. And you tell them, you check off all the stuff that you sent them. You say, nope, I sent you this, I sent you this, I sent you this, I sent you this. Investigate that. I want you to investigate everything that I wrote. And if you have a problem with not investigating it, I'm going to need you to tell me why. And if you don't tell me why, I'm going to file against you guys. How about that? That's what you tell them. Hey, Tammy, just got an email and my book is available for everyone at Amazon Kindle. Here's the link. I don't know what that means. Okay. You know I want them to buy it, right? I'm gonna kill you. Okay. So anyway, that's all right. That's the way I set it up. So anyway, what I want to know is, how much of this stuff are you guys? Is it working for you? Because this is almost like a pilot program for me. For years, I've been trying to figure out what you guys need. And I've been telling people that in order to help you guys, as a person has to see it from your perspective. Okay. I had a gentleman who wanted to write a book with me. And that's what I told him. We can't write it from our perspective. Our perspective is about our world and who we deal with all the time. So we can't write it like that. There's just no way. So, because it's not going to have any meaning for you. Now, that's why I wrote my thing the way I did. Okay? So, yes, the school hates that I know and quote the regulations. That's right. That's what you have to do. And it pisses them off to know. They used to tell me all the time. I had lawyers come into my team meetings, and the lawyer was right. I didn't know what she was doing. She was literally writing down all of the laws. So when she left, she could go and look them up. So they hate it because and that's too bad. Yes, I said that, provided them with the link for easy access. Okay. So the information that I'm trying to give you guys is to make sure that you get it. Because after a while of doing these things, because they're all going to be the same format. But what it does is it helps you to learn the jargon. It helps you to learn the regulations. Because what I didn't put in there is the actual regulations. But what I put in the book are the links to all of where I got all that stuff. Okay. So when you see certain words, you see fake, you see evaluations. You see, whenever you see words like that, they use where I said the violation, the violation of idea, and then right underneath that, I say what the violation is. I named it, and that's what they call it under idea. So all you guys would have to do is just go in there and look it up under the link that I gave you, and you can find that law. Is there a section of the law that regulates students' quarterly report cards and grades? No. This question is in regards to all students in public school. Incorrect academic grades was reported. Yeah, that's illegal. And you should just file against them. They can't just make up grades. Because according to you, I can bet you dollars to donuts the grades were high. But see, all you have to do is get the students' records. And you want a copy of the book, of the teacher's book. And you tell her to redact everybody else's name out of the book, and that's what you want. Because if you have proof of that, then file against them. Okay? What is this? Just a second. Okay. No problem, Diane. I I love watching you. I have no idea what to go on, but I want and expect the best. Of course you do. Of course you do. What you guys say you want the best for your kid and stuff. What you want is a free, appropriate public education. What you want is the same thing that typical kids are getting. Your kid shouldn't get anything less because your kid has a disability. Unfortunately, your kid has a disability, which means it's going to cost the state and the district more money to educate your kid. That doesn't mean that because your kid has a disability that your kid shouldn't get an education. That, you know what? That's the actual reason why Congress created IDEA. Because back in the day, that's exactly what they were doing with kids with disabilities. Those kids stayed home. They didn't get an education. Okay? They got babysat, maybe. And even now, they're sending these kids to these programs. Oh, it's a program. It's not a program. It's not a program. It's a daycare center. I can't wait till you do that. I'm going to do that this weekend. I can't wait to do that. That one's going to be easy for me. There's a whole bunch of stuff in the transition. But there's going to be a transition one for any kids, like in Massachusetts. If your kid is 14 years old, in New York, I think is the same thing. If your kid is 14 years old, then the school district has to do what's called a transitional assessment. It's about what your kid, because at 14, your kid's about to go into the 9th grade, high school. So special education is all about preparing your kid to be the best person they could be in our society. So just because your kid's on an IEP doesn't necessarily mean that your kid is severely disabled. But even if your kid is severely disabled, it doesn't mean that there aren't things your kid should know. Because the more your kid knows, the less you have to do for your kid as an adult. Okay? So, and that's what the transition piece is all about. In some states, they use 16 years old. So you have to look at your laws under your state special education rules and look up transition. Just look it up. Just type in the word transition in your state to find out what that age is when they have to do a transitional assessment. Then, because I'm going to put a link out there for you guys to get this other thing. It's called the age appropriate transitional assessment toolkit. It's a whole book that has the approval of best practices from OSEP. They got a grant to do it, and they get the grant every year or every other year or whatever. And they compile all of these assessments and inventories that have to be done, like that tell the school, these are the things that need to be done in order to identify what this child is interested in. So I'm going to include that, and that's really cool. Okay. I think I put it on my Facebook page, but I'm not sure. But I'm going to put the link out there again. And when I do the transition book, it's going to be a link to that because it's real important. In all of my books, I'm going to put the link to the dispute resolution memorandum, and it tells you everything. It tells you all about what you can expect, what you can do, the purpose of due process, mediation, state complaints, and it answers all of these questions about the grievance process through IDEA. And it has a whole bunch of questions in there, and it's written in layman's terms. So, I mean, it's just written in regular language. For instance, one of the things is, and I ended up memorizing it, is, remember I told you guys earlier that if you file a complaint and they call you up and they say, they're gonna leave something out on purpose, and you're gonna tell them, if you don't, I'm gonna file against you. So in this memorandum, it's like 40-something pages. But in this memorandum on page 22, B12, it actually says, the question is, what can the SEA, can you file against the SEA? The SEA is a state educational agency. A state educational agency is the Department of Education in your state, in all states. So rather than call it, the school district or the Department of Education, because it gets confusing, they call it the State Education Agency, and they call school districts LEAs. LEA is Local Educational Agency. That's your school district, okay? What rules apply for ESY for services, but especially one-on-one services outside? It goes by your kid's IEP. So whatever's in your kid's IEP can go for ESY. If I had a kid that was real complex, everything in the IEP. If I had a kid and all of the evaluations came back and they said that, without this, the kid's not going to make progress, everything in that IEP, as far as I'm concerned, whatever the kid needed during the school year so that the kid didn't regress, the kid needs for ESY. Everything in the IEP. So the answer to your question, the whole IEP. And 106 actually says that. So let me read it to you, okay? Here, I'm going to put it up so you can see it, all right? I think this is it. This 106. I can't see it. I can't tell if that's 106. Let me see. Okay, I know what to do. Put that one down. Okay, there it is. Okay, extended school. I'm sorry, I had to look and make sure I was pulling up the right page. But it says right here, the definition. Okay, each public agency must ensure that extended school year services are available as necessary to provide FAPE. Remember what I told you guys? FAPE is everywhere. It's everywhere. Okay. So extended school year services must be provided only if a child's IEP team determines, wait for it, on an individual basis, we don't do that here. No, we don't do that here as everybody. Okay? In accordance with 300.320 through 324, which is goals and objectives, how to develop an IEP, that the services are necessary for the provision of FAPE to the child. So without FAPE, without these services, without the implementation of the entire IEP, your kid's not going to get FAPE. So what they're saying is your kid don't need FAPE during the summer. My kid does need FAPE because extended school year services is to prevent regression. Okay? So in implementing the requirements, the agency may not limit extended services to a particular category of disability or unilaterally limit the type, amount, or duration of those services. So in answer to your questions, it goes by your kid's unique needs. It goes by the IEP that you've already developed, okay? And it also says the definition used in this section, the term extended school year services means special education and related services there. And then it lists are provided with to a child with a disability beyond the normal school year in accordance with the child's IEP at no cost to the parents. It meets the standards of the state education agency, which is the Department of Education in your state. So the term extended school year services means special education and related services. So OT, speech and language, all of that is part of extended school year services. Now, there might be something that your kid may not need, and that's okay. Then you agree, he doesn't need that. They cannot limit the time, the amount, the duration of, they can't do none of that. Okay? So if school's out for 60 days, and usually schools don't have summer services until like July 6th. And most schools do it for 6 weeks, if they do it at all. They do it for 6 weeks. So that takes you to like approximately, August something. August, like the middle of August. Okay? So you got 6 weeks. But that's not to say, though, that you can't get it longer. And now, a lot of schools say, well, we only offer half a day service. No. Unless you can squeeze all of this time for all of these services that he's getting all school year in a full day, if you can squeeze that into a half a day and not traumatize my kid, go for it. But if you can't squeeze all of these services into a half a day, guess what he's getting? A full. And they can't tell you no. They can't tell them to put it in writing. They'll check a lot quick, fast, and hurry. Because they know, based on 34 CFR 300.106, they can't say, We don't do this. We don't do that. We can't do this. No, that's not what it says under the law. It says just the opposite. What rules apply? So I hope I answered that. What to do in a disagreement? I can't wait to. What to do in a disagreement? Get it in writing. If they say no to ESY, you tell them to put it in writing. You tell them you want a full day service. You tell them you want it for 6 weeks. You tell them you want the entire IEP implemented. They're going to say, I'm telling you, I have had schools tell me, well, we don't have typical kids, because like some of my kids had integration with typical peers. Like, I forgot what it's called, but they bring them into the classroom rather than my clients going into the typical kids classroom. So they had, and that builds it's integration. It's social skills and it's integration. So they said they couldn't have that. Why couldn't you have it? You couldn't have it because you didn't want it. Because all they have to do is offer a lottery. You don't think that there are typical kids out there who are 3 and 4 year olds that their parents would love for their kid to go for free for a summer program for 6 weeks with a child who has a disability? Are you kidding me? For free? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the kid that's typical will also learn. They'll learn compassion. They'll learn tolerance. They'll learn how to be. A lot of the typical kids are really kind of motherly to a child with a disability. So they become the helpers in the classroom. So they're learning too. So what is the purpose of a disagreement? There's no such thing as a disagreement meeting. What are you talking about? There's no such thing. There's no such thing. I don't know what the purpose is. There's a mediation. There's a resolution meeting. There's no such thing as a disagreement team meeting. There's not. There's none. There's a mediation meeting. They're changing it, Mary, so they can get you in there. They're calling a mediation meeting. Ask them, put it in writing. Say, what is the purpose of a disagreement meeting? And where? I've never heard of this before. Where is that? Where's the rules? What is the purpose of it? There's no such thing. There's no such thing. That's a mediation. And then you tell them, isn't that mediation that I'm not going to go through? That's called mediation. There's no such thing as a disagreement meeting. Dispute resolution. There's a resolution meeting, which you're supposed to have 15 days or 30 days. I forgot which one it is. Before the start of a hearing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or mediation. You don't need to do both. You can, but you don't need to. So there's no such thing as a disagreement meeting. Disagreement meeting is a hearing. Disagreement meeting is mediation. A disagreement meeting is a resolution meeting. There's no such a disagreement meeting. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. What you should tell them, I don't understand the purpose of this. What are you proposing? I need you to put this in writing. That's what you tell them. Whoever told you that, tell them to put it in writing. You need to know the scope of this meeting. There's no such thing as a disagreement meeting. Then you tell them, is this a resolution meeting? Nope, can't be that one because you were supposed to do that within 15 days after yada, yada, yada. Is it a mediation? Nope, because mediation is voluntary. I don't have to come to this either. Okay, I don't have to do mediation. And it's not mediation because why? There's nobody here. Okay, good. And a disagreement meeting, who are the players? The other thing, who are the players for this disagreement meeting? Yeah, you're going to run scared. That's why they call it a disagreement meeting. Okay. Again, put it in writing. Okay. What are they proposing? That's what they have to do is prior written notice. If they're proposing something for the disagreement meeting, the purpose of the meeting, they have to tell you what it is. Tell them to put it in writing pursuant to 34 CFR 300.503. And then tell them to do this. Watch, I'll tell you what to do. Here's what you do, Griffin. Okay. You go to 34 CFR 300.503. And it gives you 7 things they have to do. So they're trying to initiate something, okay, or change something. So what you have to do is you tell them. So what you're trying to do is initiate something. Is that correct? You're trying to propose something? Good. So what you do is you tell them, pursuant to 34 CFR 300.503, there's no such thing as a disagreement. First of all, just for the record, there's no such thing as a disagreement meeting. It just doesn't exist. Send it again. Write second request. Tell them, well, here's the thing. You can't tell them in writing that you did not put it in, send it again. This is the second request for a copy of the updated IEP. And tell them if you don't get it, you're going to reject it. You want to see how quick you get it? Send it down. Say, I don't know what you're doing. I need a copy of the updated IEP, and I need it now. I'm not waiting a week. I want it tomorrow at such and such a time. That's what you tell them. And then you tell them if you don't get it, you're going to reject it. And then you're going to tell everybody why you rejected it. I rejected it because you didn't want me to see it. Because when you get it, you might want to reject something in there. They are proposing that we discuss the disagreement. They're offering a 10-day reconvene to continue the discussion of the disagreement. You tell them to stick it up their hindies. That's called mediation. We're not doing none of that. Okay? You tell them to put it in writing, and you tell them this. I'll tell you what you're going to tell them. You're going to tell them to put it in writing what they're proposing. You tell them to include the description of what they're proposing. You tell them to explain why they're proposing it. You tell them that you want a description of each procedure, each evaluation, assessment, record, or report that they're going to use as a basis for their proposal. And you tell them you want a copy of it 48 hours before the disagreement meeting. There's no such thing. Then you tell them you want a description of other options that the IEP team, who's going to be there? That's the other thing. Who's going to this meeting? You want to ask them that. Who's going to the meeting? You want an attendance sheet. It's a disagreement meeting. So if it's a disagreement meeting, right, you tell them. If it's a disagreement meeting, which I've never heard of, you want to see that in writing, that the school district has a practice of having disagreement meetings when they can't figure out what to do. See, they're scared right now. Good. They're stupid. That's what they get. They're trying to invent stuff now. So you tell them to put it in writing. You tell them you want to know the purpose of the meeting, the date, time, and location. You want to know why you want everything in 503. That's what you tell them. That's what you tell them. Otherwise, you can't go because you don't know what the hell that means. You don't know what that is. I know what it is, and I'll tell you tomorrow. But I know what that is. They're scared. They're scared as hell, okay? Because they know they're screwed. And even if they don't know, the lawyer knows that they're screwed. So what you do is you tell them to put it in writing. You want to know all the parameters of why they want to have a disagreement meeting. A disagreement about what? The fake hearing that they just filed? What are they having to see? This is what you have to do. You have to find out, one, what is the disagreement about? Because you don't even know what they're doing and why. What's the purpose of that for, which you're in right now? You don't even know what that is. You tell them, is the disagreement meeting about what they just did? Or is the disagreement about the complaints you filed? Tell them you don't know which one. You don't even know what they're doing because they lied to the hearing officer. I have to say, they lied. So you have to ask them. You have to tell your attorney, listen, dude, I'm not going nowhere until I get some information. I want to know who's going to be at the meeting. Okay? So I'm not going nowhere with their stupid attorney. I'm not. That's what you tell them. I never heard of this before, so I need the definition of a disagreement meeting. I need the purpose of a disagreement meeting. And how is that different from mediation? How is that different from a resolution meeting? How? I don't understand. Oh my God, score. Great. I can multitask. Going through IEP paperwork that was just sent on the 9th. Last reading probe 10th. This is the 4th time teacher has falsified document. She thinks she is cool. They're dumb, I know. They're just dumb. So you tell them to discuss the disagreement. What disagreement? You tell them, look at, dude. Mary, this is going to be so much fun. Listen, you tell them, what disagreement? You filed a hearing against me and you lied to the hearing officer. So which disagreement are you talking about? The one, my complaints that you're trying to get thrown out? Or the disagreement that you filed that's bogus? I don't know which one. That's what you tell them. That's what you tell them. Put it in writing and say, I don't know what disagreement. I didn't file a hearing. You talking about the hearing? I didn't file a disagreement. You did. You and the hearing officer like that. So you guys need to go talk to the hearing officer, not me. I don't know what you're talking about. What disagreement? I didn't disagree with nothing. What are you talking about? I didn't file this stupid hearing. You guys did. You see what they're doing?